Many thanks for joining us. My name is Sharon Momanyi. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Meresha Awiti. Now, police in Kenya have launched investigations into the circumstances surrounding the shocking killing of a bodyguard attached to the National Assembly Speaker, Justin Muturi. An administration police officer guarding the Speaker's Nairobi home was shot dead by his colleague just before dawn. Duncan Hayamba with more.
The early morning killing took place at Muturi's Thigiri Ridge House home here in the capital Nairobi, with reports confirming that none of the Speaker's family members was at home during the incident, while the Speaker himself is currently in Mombasa on official duties. The victim was the one in the official sentry box and is said to have been listening to music on a computer when his colleague, who had taken a few hours to rest, accosted him, shooting him 3 times in the chest, killing him on the spot. Senior police officers who rushed to the scene reported there were signs of a scuffle between the two before the killing took place. The assailant, however, remained in the compound even as GSU officers guarding a nearby security installation stormed the Speaker's residence to find out what had transpired. The suspect was arrested as investigations into the shopping murder got underway. The victim's body was moved to the city mortuary.
Shown on the order paper.
The National Assembly Speaker is constitutionally the 3rd highest-ranking government official after the presidency, and therefore shooting and subsequent killing in his home is seen as a serious security breach, which may force a total overhaul of his security detail. Duncan Hemba, KTN.
The Kenya National Transport and Safety Authority last evening embarked on another of its regular crackdowns, catching Nairobi motorists by surprise. NTSA says the crackdown that netted more than 20 drivers continues throughout the weekend.
The NTSA team set up their base along the usually busy Thika superhighway. And it wasn't long before they began nabbing those found driving while drunk. Here, men and women fell victim to the all-dreaded alcohol blow that would ensure they spent the night at the police cells.
Why are you running away? I'm not running away. What have I done?
You are running away? Oh my God.
But not all motorists were willing to comply. Some drivers opting to evade the officials, seeking to tame their errant ways, drove off into the night, never mind the risk they placed on themselves and other drivers.
Most of the accidents are caused by drunk driving, and that's why NTSA has put a lot of emphasis to ensure that drunk drivers are not on our roads.
This motorist, who happens to be a government driver and bodyguard, was not spared in an operation that went all out to try and bring sanity to the roads. The operation that lasted more than 4 hours nabbed 21 motorists who will be appearing at the courts Monday to answer to charges of driving while under the influence, therefore endangering the lives of others and themselves.
I'm not the driver. That's all. Hiyo ni mzuri kabisa.
Thank you very much, brother. This is so small. Hata kuuliza bibi yako la sakwambia. Ujaifanya nini? Hata hajaisikia likinuka. Alikuwa miaka bao. Arudi nyuma kidogo.
Timothy Otieno, KTN News.
And that story forms the basis of our Saturday night poll. And we're asking you, do you agree that it is safer to spend a night at a police station than to continue driving when you're drunk? Do you think it's safer for you to just stop your car and, be a guest at police cells if you're drunk while driving rather than continuing to drive? Do engage us on our Twitter, that is at KTN News, at KTN Kenya, and directly to me at Sharon_Momanyi. I shall be sampling your views as we continue with this show. Let's move on. And the Kenyan Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has told members of parliament that there is absolutely no room for extension of the deadline for the mass voter registration exercise. The IBC, led by Chairman Wafula Chebukati, told parliamentary committee leaders that despite a constitutional requirement that the exercise ends 90 days to the general election, the circumstances do not allow IBC enough leeway to stretch things that far.
With less than 6 months to the general elections, Kenyans could be headed for another legal battle on when the IBC should officially close the voter registration exercise. This is after the IBC chair Wafula Chebukati stated that Kenyans have until Tuesday the 14th of February to do so.
We are not extending the period of registration from 14th. The last day is 14th. Please talk to your constituents to go and register between now and 14th.
Though the Chebukati-led team are in agreement that the Supreme Law demands that the registration process can only end 90 days to a general election, they argue that cleaning up registrar can only happen if the exercise is closed early to allow the Commission deliver a free and fair general election.
The same law says, yes, we do registration of voters. The same law says we look at the register and clean it up. So the same law says we present the register for verification. Now, all these processes must be done. Now, if you continue registration until the 6th of August, when will the IBC, between February and 10th May, we need time to clean up this register. That's why we have to stop somewhere.
This stand by the IBC seemed to have divided members of parliament who are here in Mombasa for the leadership summit.
Why will they make this drastic announcement at the tail end of the process when they knew this was the timeline? These issues should have been brought to the attention of the taxpayers at the time when the process actually was just beginning.
I'm sure those who participated in other audits know that for one to audit and audit effectively, you close the registration and then subject the registrars for audit.
They are now appealing for a 14-day extension, saying areas in the northern Kenya have been affected by drought, and the announcement might lock out many Kenyans.
Those of us who hail from those pastoralist counties, for sure the listing have not gone well. In my own constituency of Northor, out of 10,000 people who are to be potentially registered, only 2,000 have registered. That's less than 20% of the target. And this is simply because of the disaster, the drought, which have affected our people. And this is very unique circumstances affecting the pastoralists in northern Kenya and other parts of this country. We demand and request IEBs to extend the period, even if by 2 weeks.
The same constitution that says voter registration must be continuous is the same law that says he must conduct a voter audit, that he must conduct a voter verification, that he must procure the equipment 4 months before the general election. So that was the position of the chair, and that's why he has a timeline. And he can't have his timelines just open.
Under these strict timelines set by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, Chebukati expects submission of party membership to begin on March 9th to March 19th, meaning from 20th March, there will be no party hopping.
The moment your name is submitted to IEBC on the 19th of March by either coalition, any party, then you cannot jump ship.
As we head to the home stretch of mass voter registration, the members of parliament seem to be divided on which way to take after 14th of February. But the IBC maintains that it has no intention of extending the deadline. But the Constitution, on the other hand, says that the registration can only end 90 days prior to the general election. Francis Mtalaki, KTN News, Mombasa.
Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta has defended the 38 billion shillings Itare Dam project that has caused a political storm in the South and Central Rift regions. The head of state took a swipe at CORD leader Raila Odinga, telling him to stop politicizing projects initiated by his government. KTN News reporter Victor Ogale has the details.
With 4 days remaining to the end of the second phase of the voter mass registration, President Uhuru Kenyatta pitched camp in Nakuru County. Top on his agenda was the controversial 38 billion Itare Dam project in Kuresoi North. The president dismissed assertions that the project was going to disadvantage some communities downstream. The ongoing water project has sparked controversy among leaders in Bomet, Nakuru and Narok counties.
Hii ndio tofauti ya maendeleo na hiyo lugha na kuambia ya watu ambao hawawezi kuona mbali. Nasitaki ni wataji. Lakini wale watu ambao hawawezi kuona mbali ndio tukianza project kama hiyo wanaenda kusema hii project itakausha mto kule milimani, watu wa Kericho hawatakuwa na maji. Lakini wewe na fikira yako ndogo ni kwenda kuinsight watu kule ya kwamba hiyo maji itasababisha mito ikauke na inapelekewa Wakikuyu Rongai. Sasa jameni, sio ni mtu mjinga, wacha nisimu. Ni mtu ambaye amepotea. Hivyo ndivyo tuwataka.
Kenyatta said no matter who wins the August polls, he will ensure that Kenya stays united and peaceful. The president said he has no personal issues with any of the opposition leaders seeking to unseat him, but told them to carry out their campaigns with decorum. While the president was about to wind up his event at the Salga shopping center, Rongai member of parliament pushed through the crowds and the security detail to present to the president the problems of his constituents in Salga.
Nimesikia pia hapa pia Salga kwa sababu najua hii ni center kubwa ya malori na magari kubwa kusimama. Ya kwamba mko na shida ya hii parking lot. Mnataka imalizwe. Si namna hiyo. Na hiyo pia ni soko ya watu wetu kufanya biashara na mambo mengine. Mimi tutaongea na hiyo county government na hata kama ni pesa kidogo tuwaongezee zile mataa ambazo tunaweka za kuhakikisha watu wanaweza kufanya biashara hata usiku hapa Salga. Na Keteri nilikuwa nimemuona, sijui alipotea wapi. Keteri, unasikia watu wa Salga wanataka town hiyo hao iwe na mataa. Basi wewe hakikisha unawapatia mataa.
Uhuru has been on the voter registration drive for the better part of the last 2 weeks. Victor Gale, KTN News, Nakuru County.
And as Uhuru canvassed Nakuru County, the NASA Brigade today engaged the masses in a major charm offensive in Vihiga County during the burial of the mother of Vihiga Senator George Khaniri. The NASA leaders insisted that the grand political vehicle had the right momentum heading into the August polls to wrestle power away from the Jubilee government.
The NASA leaders, with the exception of Kalonzo Musyoka, pitched tent in Vihiga County to console the area Senator George Khaniri following the loss of his mother, Josephine Kageha. Speaking during the burial ceremony, the leaders' message was clear, that the NASA unity was unshakable.
Hii timu ambayo tutaunda haiwezi kushindwa. Mimi ningependa kuambia Ruto na Uhuru wajitayarishe. Wakati yao ya kwenda nyumbani ni sasa.
NASA is the real alternative. Not just another alternative. It is the real alternative. Real and only alternative.
The 4 leaders are yet to decide who the coalition's flag bearer will be, with a special committee formed to reach a suitable candidate. Nonetheless, the complexities of drafting a roadmap to reaching the ideal torch-bearer that the Jubilee leaders have often said will be the downfall of NASA has been dismissed by the leaders, who insist theirs is a partnership comprising equal stakeholders.
Hawa wangwana kati ya wanaume 4 wameshindwa kuchagua ni nani atakuwa kiongozi wao, mpaka wametengeneza komiti. Wametengeneza komiti. Sasa mimi nauliza wewe, kama wameshindwa kuamua mambo ya wanaume wanne, mambo ya watu milioni 40 ya Kenya watawezana nayo?
Nimesema na nataka kurudia mbele yenu. Ubinafsi unaweza kutuharibu. Kwa hivyo wale ambao ni wafuasi wetu, nimesema na nitarudia. Ndugu yetu Raila akipata, Weta atakuwa amepata. Kalonzo akipata, Weta atakuwa amepata. Musalia akipata, Weta atakuwa amepata. Na Weta akipata, Weta atafurahi zaidi.
Mimi nawaambia, mkipiga kura kama kitu kimoja, na kuambia hiyo inaitwa direct state house.
The trio called on their supporters from the populous larger Western Kenya to enlist as voters before the close of the exercise on Tuesday as a sure way of propelling the Super Alliance to power.
Tuna suluhisho, tuna nia na tuna uwezo kuongoza watu wa Kenya ikiwa tuna hawa watu wanne kama viongozi wa NASA.
Both political camps have engaged in a bitter war of words since the start of the voter registration exercise, with each side claiming political dominance over the other in a matter likely to be settled on August the 8th when Kenyans go to the polls. Timothy Otieno, KTN News.
So it's time for that special interview that we talked about at the beginning of the bulletin, and our associate editor Noah Otieno joins me in studio now to talk to the men behind power, to talk about the talks behind the talk. Noah.
Sharon, tonight I have with me men who've caused other grown men and women to cry real tears when they were denied access to the top dogs in Kenya's political arena. I have with me former aide to Prime Minister Raila Odinga, Karoli Omondi, now a businessman. I also have with me the vice chairman of Jubilee Party and the man who was very instrumental in the merger between TNA and URP, David Muradhi. Gentlemen, welcome. This is KTN News. And tonight we want to talk about campaign strategy, especially what is going on now between those two main coalitions you've just watched on TV. And first, I'll start with you, Karoli Omondi, because you are closer to this than David. When exactly should election campaign issues become clear? Are the current main contenders for State House telling us exactly what they are running on, or when should we expect them to tell us exactly what they stand for?
Thank you very much, Noah. Are you talking about the manifestos, or
what is it that
the policies and...
Yes, you know, you have to sell something. You have to sell yourself on a certain agenda. What is Raila Odinga, for example, running on? What is Uhuru Kenyatta running on, apart from talking at each other all the time?
Thank you very much for that clarification. I think what is important is to look at politics as a continuous process and not something that has timelines when it starts and ends. So there's a track record that any political leader should have in public life. And this track record starts much earlier than even the time you go into elections. By the time, you know, if we had politics of ideology in Kenya or politics of issues, these things would start at the time somebody attains the age of 18. In other words, when you start to have the right to vote, you then pick whether you are a social democrat or whether you are a pure market-oriented person or something like that. And then that ideology would lead you into a political party, and then you pursue it over a period of time.
In Kenya today, do you see any ideology in the main coalitions that we have today? What, for example, is the ideology in NASA, or what is the ideology in Jubilee Party that is driving us towards the August election?
Let me put it this way. I will not speak for Jubilee. My very able friend David is here. But by the way, he's a founder member of ODM. We were with him when we started ODM.
Okay.
But let me put it this way. In terms of NASA coming into CORD, into ODM, that progression, we are social democrats. We believe in free markets. We believe in market economy. But we also believe in equity. Equity for people. Equity for everybody. A chance to have a role in life, a chance to participate in political processes, and a chance to claim your role in terms of self-advancement, be it in terms of education, be it in terms of business, be it in terms of social protection. So that as we move along, not too many are left behind.
And David, do you feel that ideology in NASA? Do you see it? Do you see that so-called social democracy? Do you see NASA, CORD, ODM moving together with the people and selling that clear message to Atieno and Wanjiku that, look, this is why you should vote us in and vote Jubilee out?
I don't see it in Kalonzo. I don't see it in Musalia. I don't see it in Weta. Probably Raila. But you had him right. He started with NASA, CORD, ODM. So he's actually talking about the ODM philosophy.
So not the NASA philosophy?
It is not the NASA philosophy. And people here needed not to beat about the bush.
What about Jubilee? What is the ideology?
Jubilee,
apart from criticizing
ideology and philosophy is represented in its manifesto, which we are implementing, the campaign pledges, the campaign manifesto. Jubilee is for free enterprise. These guys are communists. We believe in creating wealth. They believe in sharing wealth. That's the fundamental difference between Jubilee and NASA. Nyerere used to say it.
Why do you say communists?
He just said it. He said the socialists.
I talked about social
Let
democracy.
me explain.
Yes, I talked about social
democracy is a synonym to communism. These guys are communists, and they don't believe in creating wealth. They don't believe in work. They believe in government. You know that theory of serikali's ideas. That's why you find up to now, there are places are still lagging behind. I'm glad my friend here is different from the mold. By the way, let me tell you, this thing it has not started now. There is something called Kenyattaism and Odingaism. And you can see, you go to Kibera, where somebody has been an MP for 4 terms, and look at the slum, the sewage, the rubbish, and then look at other areas where Kibaki's 3 years or so, you see the roads, look at Uhuru, 3.5 years, the SGR, look at the difference.
No, let me explain something.
That's the question I want to ask Karoli.
Could I explain something on that issue of Kibera? Yes. The issue of slums in urban areas is a function of provision of labor and wages paid and the location of where the workers go to work. Kibera exists simply because we don't have a proper transportation system that can move labor from one point. Is it just about transportation? It is transportation. All the people you see in Kibera...
Is it not about affordability of
all
housing?
That issue of affordability of housing, affordability of transport, affordability of everything is a function of supply of labor and where the workplace is.
My friend.
People stay in Kibera.
Let us
the Nairobi County government is under ODM.
It's all right.
It's under an ODM governor.
Let us put a
pause
let's
on
go
that.
slowly. That's a topic for our
These people...
Let me ask you.
No, I think it's very... let's be fair here.
I agree. Let me ask you something.
My friend.
Let me ask you something.
When we try to relocate those people so that they can move like to the river, then you can do a modular to bring the transportation infrastructure that he's talking about. The modern high-rise buildings, they refused. You know why? That those are their voters.
David,
and they are very happy to have it like a tourist attraction.
Okay, that's a topic.
That's all the Hollywood can be talking about the biggest slum in Africa.
This is an important question that our viewers wanted me to ask the two of you. And I'll start with you, Karoli. The delay in naming a flag bearer in NASA, is it a campaign tactic? Is it a sign of indecision?
No, I don't think there's any delay in naming a flag bearer.
It is less than 6 months to the election.
No. I mean, IEBC, under the very able leadership of the good lawyer Chebukati, gave us the timelines yesterday. When a political party is supposed to nominate their presidential flag bearers? It's sometime in May of this year. Not now.
But Jubilee
not in
supporters
February.
already know whom they are voting for.
No, Jubilee supporters have a sitting
and the same happened in
president.
2013.
Jubilee supporters have a sitting president who is in office. There's no contest within Jubilee for the nomination of their presidential flag bearer.
Because of time, let me ask the same question to
I will
David.
give you an example.
Is it a delaying tactic? Is it a campaign tactic? Or is it a sign
When
of
did we nominate
indecision?
Kibaki actually in 2002?
And by the way, what is he talking about? When we went to 2013, we were campaigning against the then core principal, who was a prime minister. We were campaigning against the sitting vice president. The highest we had was a deputy prime minister who was shackled by an ICC case. The fact that they've come together anyway, what difference does it make? Kalonzo was with Raila, Musalia, his votes were counted with Raila, Weta was with Raila. What new are they bringing us? And we even know the lineup. Why are you wasting our time?
No, our time is running out, Karoli.
They are wasting our time. We know the lineup.
This question, we can't
and
go
the lineup
home.
is Raila and no other issue.
We can't go home without talking about this other question. This is something that viewers said, if I don't ask you, then I shouldn't even bother being on KTN News again. The wars that are fought at the tallying centers on election nights when Kenyans are expecting results. We see it in Ghana, we see in the US, very organized presentation of election results. We see the government in full force, the army, the police, the IEBC heavily protected, and the opposition crying all the time that they're being blocked from that so-called tallying center. What is this problem with the National Tallying Center? What happens exactly? Why is it so critical to guard that place with guns?
Let me tell you.
Let me start with you, David.
Yeah, for the first time you are starting with me. Do you know, in the last election, by Monday evening, everybody knew everybody's numbers. They knew our numbers, we knew their numbers. All that hullabaloo between Monday and Friday, when they were officially announcing, they had agents in all our tallying centers. We had agents in theirs, except that in our case, they chased ours away. Observers were in our areas, were not in ODM areas. Even now, as we are talking about this voter registration, we have numbers update to date by the day, and they also have. There is no issue about any confusion. Their tallying center, we know, you even know where it's located. They know ours.
Karoli, what's your take on this?
I think it's just
Do we have a national tallying center?
Let me put it this way now. The biggest challenge for the Chebukati-led IEBC Commission is to establish a functioning, properly organized tallying center for the first time in the history of elections in the Republic of Kenya. We have never had a tallying center.
But the parties have.
The parties have.
We have
individual political parties tallying centers. But those are not official tallying centers. For the forthcoming elections, we want, as NASA, for the first time, to have a proper functioning tallying center. A tallying center works as follows. A tallying center is established. The various presidential candidates nominate their candidates. They sit in there. Every election result that is submitted is supported with documents from every stream of the polling station concerned, submitted to everybody, shared out, looked into, shared with all the political parties, and confirmed before anything is issued. You've been seeing in the last 2-3 elections, those are media briefing centers. Those are not tallying centers.
We will conclude this matter.
Do they dispute the fact that we beat them by 850,000 votes in the last one?
No,
and that this one we are going to beat them by over 2 million?
Last election, nobody got 50+1 in the last elections. That is a fact.
Because
any
none of us
knows
who's going to win, none of us knows who's going to lose.
But on that note, gentlemen, let me take us to a commercial break.
That was a fraud.
These are very hot issues that cannot be completed today. But we are going to a commercial break and we shall return. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming to join us on KTN News for this talk between men behind power. My name is Noah Otieno.
Now, 4 foreign nationals suspected of drug trafficking have been arrested in Mombasa and an unknown quantity of narcotics seized. Regional Police Boss Philip Twimur says the government chemist will confirm the quantity of narcotics that police found. The 2 South Africans and 2 nationals of Seychelles are in police custody pending interrogation and possible extradition. This comes barely 2 weeks since the Akasha brothers and 2 foreigners were extradited to the United States to face drug trafficking charges. Patrick Amimo reports.
Multi-agency detectives carried out a night operation in the upmarket Nyali estate in the coastal town of Mombasa. The officers zeroed in on an apartment near Nyali Beach Hotel where 2 nationals from Seychelles were arrested. The apartment is said to have cost them 100,000 shillings monthly in rent. Inside the house were musical equipment which they probably used to lease out for discotheque. There was also a good serving of whiskey. The 2 suspects from Seychelles are on their country's wanted list of the National Drugs Enforcement Agency. Another group of detectives on the same night arrested 2 South African nationals who were living in a hotel in Nyali. The suspects had been staying in the hotel for 3 months without paying. Police say the South Africans were in the country illegally and were involved in drug trafficking and money laundering. According to the police, the South Africans were planning to bring a shipment of mandrakes from India. A vehicle which had documents of their Akashas was impounded during the raid. The 4 suspects are in police custody for questioning. Last month, the 2 sons of the late Akasha, Ibrahim and Bakhtash, were arrested in a night operation and extradited to New York in the United States of America, where they are wanted for drug trafficking. They were deported together with their 2 accomplices from India and Pakistan. The 4 had been fighting extradition to America since November 2014, where a New York court had indicted them for allegedly trying to import banned drugs.
The Uniform Extradition Act only affects the citizens of the United States. Kenya is not part of the U.S.
The 4 suspects arrested Friday night will be charged in court on Monday for drug trafficking after the government chemist identifies and confirms the quantity of narcotics involved. Patrick Amimo, KTN News.
Now, a young man in Makueni has surprised residents by personally ensuring uncollected IDs reach their owners in a very interesting way. You see, MacDonald Mutuku volunteers to collect the IDs from the local registrar's office and uses his vast networks and popularity personally to take the identification cards to their owners. But there is a catch. For one to receive their ID, they must accompany MacDonald to an IEBC registration center, register as a voter before being handed their ID, and apparently the rather unorthodox method, according to the IEBC registration officer for the area, seems to be working. McDonald says he began the exercise after the area registered a paltry 7,447 voters against a possible target of 18,000 with less than a week before the deadline.
Ngumu kwa kutembea, kuwapelekea vitambulisho nyumbani na kuwachukua tena kuwaleta kwa kuchukua kadi ya kura.
Ameweza kulete wanarika zaidi ya 200 kuwasajili kama wapiga kura.
Right, let's talk sports now. And Tusker FC began the CAF Champions League campaign on a low note after settling for a 1-1 draw against Mauritius's Port Louis in a match that was played at the Kasarani Stadium in Nairobi. Despite bossing the possession in the first half, the Kenyan Premier League champions had to wait until the 26th minute when Shafiq Batambuze fired in a corner kick to give the Brewers a 1-0 lead. After the breather, Port Louis came back rejuvenated, and minutes into the second half, Ephraim Guikan netted the equalizer for the visitors. The draw means Tusker will have to win by a bigger margin in the return match away in Mauritius.
And I think so at the end, we can still go and perform there. Though today the boys didn't perform as I expected. But with football, anything can happen.
We came not to beat, frankly, to beat Tusker in Kenya. But for us, it's our objective to score a goal, at least to get a draw.
Umoja are the new Kenya Basketball Division 1 champions. Umoja defeated Zitek Titans 51-48 in Game 5 of the best-of-5 series to win the series 3-2 in a match that was played at the Nyayo Gymnasium. The win means both teams will earn a place in the Premier League in the 2017 season.
Zitek Titans took on Umoja in the final game of the best-of-5 series at the Nyayo Gymnasium, with the either team seeking a win to land this year's Kenya Basketball Federation Division 1 championship. Umoja were quick on their feet from the tip-off as they took a 7-2 lead, forcing Titans to call for a timeout. The breather seemed to work for the Titans as they took a 13-11 lead in the first quarter. In the second quarter, Zitek continued with their attacks as they left Umoja with unanswered questions with their 10 points to Umoja's 7 at the break. After the breather, Umoja seemed to find their footing as Douglas Momanyi fired in 3 quick three-pointers to bring them back into the game. Umoja kept their feet on the gas pedal, netting 18 points to Zitek's 6 in the third quarter. In the final quarter, Zitek managed to maneuver themselves back into the game, but with 2 minutes left and both teams tied at 47, Umoja proved to have more mettle as they netted 4 points to Zitek's half a basket to win the series with a 51-48 scoreline.
It was a tense match owing to the fact that we lost the previous match during overtime. So we had a pep talk. The good thing also is we had 2 weeks to recoup, train and strategize, and that's why we came up with the win.
The game was very competitive, yeah, but at the last moments we didn't capitalize on their mistakes. So that's what led to the loss.
Despite the loss, Zitek will follow Umoja into the Premier League for the 2017 season. Robinson Okenye, KTN Sports.
The 6th edition of the Bubesi Pride Rugby Development Program was officially launched at the Kenya Harlequins grounds on Saturday. The G4S-sponsored rugby program will see a group of coaches from different countries across the world take primary school-going students through different rugby skills. This year, the initiative attracted a high-profile former rugby player, Jacques Isbaga, who turned up for Blues Bull squad, Saracens, and was the captain of the Namibian national team at the 3 consecutive World Cups. The initiative targets 5 schools this year across the 10 days of the program.
There's a lot that can be done either from the top, in between, or within the grassroots levels, because every time we keep on asking when will the next Andrew Amondes or Collins Injeras or Brian Yukulis come from, but it'll obviously come from the communities that are around us.
And the whole purpose of this is to go into the poorer communities, to take them out, to teach them rugby union and the skills that go with that. But it's not just about a sport. It's about passion, discipline, teamwork, collaboration, unity, empowerment.
I'm excited to see what Africa can do, and I want to get involved in Africa. I want to do stuff like this myself in the future. That's why I got involved with Basic Pride, and hopefully we can do some good stuff.